The lighting here is bad. Hey, Jasmine. Oh, not yet. Hey, Miss Milnes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Just checking because my microphone's been a little funky. So wanted to make sure that it worked
Yes,
before we began. And I'm here. So I'm gonna walk away for a second and get some water and
no problem.
okie dokie.
Hey, Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Hey, hey,
Okay,
yes I
cool.
can. Is
I
my
made
audio okay?
you co-host. So if you, I know there's people that need to get on, and while I'm trying to figure out my screen. Mm, This is what I want you to see. Are you able to see my PowerPoint?
Um, Not yet.
Oh, my screen sharing is paused. Why? Okay. Yeah, sure. Can
Now
you
we
see
can.
it? Okay, cool.
What time did you want to start letting people in?
We can let people in now, and then we'll get started. I'll kind of give an announcement in like a couple minutes. I'm just going to turn off my video for a second.
Okay. Was the Spanish room okay?
Yeah, you
Or
can do all of it.
do what?
Oh, let them all in. I'm waiting for her to come in so that I can add her as the interpreter.
Gotcha.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're going to get started in a couple minutes and just let some more people join us. And then I will also be setting up translation. Buenas tardes. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Vamos a comenzar en unos minutos.
They can hear us.
Buenas tardes, estamos a punto de comenzar.
One moment, everyone. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties setting up our translator. So if you could be a little bit patient with me, I'd appreciate it.
Estamos teniendo un poco de dificultades técnicas, estamos tratando de averiguarlas. Tenga paciencia con nosotros, gracias.
Okay. Can I have confirmation from someone that you're able to see the presentation, please? You cannot. Okay, thank you. Are you able to see the presentation now? Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. It seems like no matter how many times we do this, we still have some difficulties. And then Sandy, I want to make sure you're able to be in the translation. If you can unmute yourself and speak just to make sure it's working. Okay, it's Seems like it might be working. Let me just confirm. Okay, it looks like it worked. So it's 6:02. I think we'll just give everyone maybe 2 more minutes. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos. Si ocupan traducción, tenemos a la señorita Sandy traduciendo en otro cuarto. Si nos hace favor de, normalmente abajo de la pantalla hay 3 botoncitos a la mano derecha que dice more, que quiere decir más. Si le empuja y ese botoncito, va a poder ver donde dice traducción y escoge el lenguaje español. Los van a mandar directamente a otro cuarto donde la señorita va a poder traducir la presentación en español. Basta. I believe it's Eliza or Elisa Oganin. I know you have your hand raised, and I want to make sure I'm able to help you if you needed something before the presentation. It could have just been a mistake.
I just want to know if it's gonna be only Spanish or English too.
So no, the presentation will be in English, but if anyone needs Spanish translation, there's going to be simultaneous translation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Okay, so to respect everyone's time, I am going to get started. We have some friendly faces here on our call or in our meeting. So welcome everyone. My name is Nancy Molina. I work in our family engagement office, assisting all of our school sites with family and community engagement. I also support the community assistant position at all of our school sites. And so if you have any questions or would like any additional information, we can wait towards the end of the presentation, but I'd be happy to answer them. And then I wanted to let my colleague, Jasmine, introduce herself as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Harris. I too work in the Family and Community Engagement Office as our senior community advocate, supporting all of the school sites, particularly parent groups, and putting on these types of workshops for everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jasmine. So the workshop that we have this evening is Welcome to Middle School. The presentation will be a very general presentation over some of the expectations transitioning for some of your students transitioning from 5th grade to 6th grade. And we're hopeful that we're able to answer some of your questions as well on what the transition phase might look like. And then if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at the end of the presentation, so that hopefully during the presentation, we are able to answer those questions for you. Let's see here. A little bit of the agenda. So we do have some of our partners that we work very closely with here to present to all of you as well. The first one that we have is our college access plan. So we're going to have Miss Wendy unmute herself in a minute and just talk a little bit about how her organization supports some of most of our students in our middle school. And then Miss Milnes, Miss Milnes is at 7th grade now. Yes, seventh grade
Not
teacher at
math,
OE.
English though, Nancy.
Okay. At Octavia E. Butler Middle School. I've had the pleasure of working with her, and she's amazing. And so she so graciously volunteered to help us present some of the content that we have today. That way you can hear firsthand from a teacher what the experience also can look like. And then we have our Miss Susan, which I know she might be on the call, and she's also here from Penn, Pasadena Education Network. If you aren't already familiar with them, she'll present a little bit on how she too supports our school sites and our families and community. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to Miss Wendy.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Hopefully, most of you have heard of College Access Plan. If you want to throw it in the chat, if this is your first middle schooler, your first transition into middle school, your second or third time, I would love to know. But I'm here to talk to you a little bit about our nonprofit organization. We've been around for about 18 years. We started with one student at Muir High School, one PCC professor, and one Muir English teacher. And we've now since grown to over 2,000 students and families. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So College Access Plan, which most of you have heard, we refer to as CAP for short, has been around, as I mentioned, a long time, but we basically provide free college readiness support programs for students and families and just helping them make an informed decision as early as possible. We serve the students within Pasadena Unified. We have a fifth grade program that we added, but we go all the way from middle school to college and beyond. And we know that in Pasadena, there's so many amazing pre-college programs to choose from. But one thing that makes us just a little bit unique is that we don't have any requirements. So we don't necessarily care about family income. If a student is first gen, second gen, or third gen, immigration status. Literally, if you are in our district and one of our students, we welcome you with open hands. So all you need to do or have your student do is show up to our programs. And the way it looks we've obviously grown to 4 different departments now. And the one that's most relevant to you right now is the middle school program, which I'll be sharing a little bit about how your students can be taking advantage of in the next coming year, or not next year, but this year in the fall, in just a few months. It'll be here before we know it. And also our family engagement department, where we provide support to families and guardians, as well as caretakers. So this is what our middle school program will consist of. It's a 9-week program. In fact, Ms. Knowles can talk about it. Her daughter did it. She was one of my students, and I can't believe I'm getting older and older because she's now in high school. But we serve all of the middle schools in PUSD, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. It's usually a 9-week program, 1 hour a week, once a week. And we basically prepare students for high school success, the way you're right now in the process of helping them transition and prepare for success in middle school. We start talking about, what does high school look like? What are those expectations going to look like? Explore colleges, careers. How do they become their own advocates, right? And how do they raise their hand to their teacher and say, I didn't quite understand that, right? And if they're not that, outspoken student, then how do we address that? And how do we still have that student advocate for themselves? Do they email the teacher? Do they slip the teacher a note before class or after class so that they can get those questions answered? So in all of that, we do that as part of fun activities. We have a pizza party at the end, and they earn 10 hours of community service. And then just really quickly with the other 3 programs, if any of you have any high school students, it's open to 9th through 12th graders, and we help with anything related to the students' goals, whether it's applying for college, researching scholarships. This is a year-round program, so it's a little different than the middle school. Students are just welcome to pop in for 2 hours, for any time between the 2-hour window that we're there. We also have, if you have a senior or a junior, just know that we have an iHeart College program. That's the one that's by invitation only, but that's where we support students beyond high school and into college. Finally, our family engagement, we will do workshops, so we invite you, please stay connected. And we truly are a wraparound service. This is just a quick picture that I wanted to share of some of my middle school students who became high school drop-in program students who are now iHeart College students. So it really is a full circle moment. And if you do happen to have a senior, we invite you to our Understanding Financial Aid webinar happening on April 15th in English, April 22nd in Spanish. We'll talk how to compare apples to apples with the various financial aid offers that are coming through, what is the true cost to your family, and answer any questions you may have about that process, as well as go through some critical steps your students should be taking in the fall. Finally, if you haven't filled out our family interest form, we can go to the, thank you. You will be getting a copy of this. I think you can access a copy of this presentation on the website. So just scan the QR code, or if you want to take a quick picture. By filling out the form, that ensures that you'll be getting invited to our upcoming opportunities and programs. And finally, this is our contact information. Take a screenshot. If you get an email from families at collegeaccess.org, it's not spam. Add us to your contact list, and that's the phone number. So if you want to take a quick screenshot and take a picture, feel free to reach out to us anytime you have any questions. And with that, I leave you on to a wonderful presentation. Enjoy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
I know you're going to have to jump off shortly. So I want to give anybody the opportunity, if you'd like to ask any questions while Miss Wendy is here. I think we have her for maybe like 2 more minutes, and then she's going to have to jump off to another meeting. But feel free to unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question.
I see some first timers, some third timers. I recently watched Inside Out 2 for the first time. I wanted something light to watch, and I was like, oh my gosh, this should be part of middle school curriculum. If you haven't, I highly, highly recommend it, because those new characters are coming into your child's life. Anxiety and sadness and anger. Yeah, it's really cute. Any questions? Did I see anything come through? I don't think I saw.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how do we find out if the after school program is available or going to be available at our middle school for the fall?
Okay, so that's something that gets sort of programmed sometime, ideally in the summer to early fall, but we usually do promotional items. If you get on our family interest form, you would find out. You would receive an email saying, these are the 3 schools that are scheduled for the fall, and then you would find out that way. You can take a screenshot of my contact information. If you text me right now, I can send you the link to the tiny URL, or family interest form. Sorry about the ruckus in the background. And I can text it to you so you can make sure that you're already on our interest list for the following year. It kind of just depends. We work in a partnership with Learns, and so sometimes certain schools have a lot going on in the fall, and so then it kind of switches up. There's never sort of like it's not always the same 3 schools in the fall and the 3 in the spring. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Was there any other questions? All right. Well, you have my contact information. Don't be a stranger. Reach out and enjoy the rest of your session. Have a great night. Bye.
I'm sorry. I do have a question is this, you said that you partner with Learns, is that correct?
Yes.
What's the charge for this service?
There is no charge to participate in the CAP program. So you would just need to have an application. If your student is not already a Learns student, they just need to have the Learns application on file.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy.
Should my middle school child sign up already? He's starting middle school next year.
Yeah, so in the fall, we would be taking registrations for the fall semester if it's during the fall. And if you get on our family interest form, though, you would receive the information as soon as we have it, along with the registration process.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Wendy. All right, so now we are going to get into some of the meaty portion of our presentation. And so here we are. Miss Milnes, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Frances Milnes, and I am, as Nancy said, I am a seventh grade teacher at Octavia E. Butler Middle School, but I started off as a sixth grade teacher. So I have experience in both grade levels, and in just in case, like, you guys have questions about anything, oh, somebody's putting, sorry, I'm getting a pop-up here. So one of the things that happens right now in the spring, so, January happened, and so now we're kind of catching up with things. I think everybody is. We will be doing state tests. Different schools have different times, but it usually happens somewhere in between April and May. I know that OEB is doing the state test in mid-April. So your kids will take your state tests, and then with those examinations, with the taste the test results plus the iReady scores, so your iReady math, your iReady reading, you notice that they are in that first circle. You'll see honors classes. Now, Nancy, I believe that OEB and Marshall both have honors classes. I'm not sure about the other middle schools. But so there are honors classes and Math Academy. We look at those scores. So I shouldn't say we do, the admin and the people who do the placement place the kids based on that. But you also have a right to advocate for your child. There have been times when kids are just having a bad day on that state testing day, and they're obviously showing that they can be in a different class. So if you want to advocate for your child to be in an honors class, please feel free to do that. Remember that you are their advocate first and foremost. As a teacher at OEB, I taught my student, my child, who is now a junior at Muir, for sixth and seventh grade. Do I read? So, oh wait, we went ahead. Nancy, are we skipping ahead? Oh, thank you. So transitional IEPs they're happening right about now. So those parents who have children who have IEPs or 504s, those are starting to take place at the middle school level right now. And then always look for the school tours. Nancy has that there, the PUSD.us tours. So look for the summer packet. If you have already registered, that's fantastic. I want to encourage you to do that with the school that your child is going to, even if you're just going to you're going to be going to your neighborhood school, because then those summer packets, you can get them, and it has the bell schedule, the emergency card, all of those things that you need to fill out, so that maybe you don't have to do so much filling out on that day when you come and tour the school right before school starts, right? So immunizations, things like that, uniform policies.
Nos están dando la información de lo que viene siendo las transiciones de las fases, cómo funciona más o menos un poco la transición después de quinto grado. En ocasiones se les da un paquete para verano, y pues comenzando el sexto grado, agosto de 2024, usted va a recibir la información en el portal de padres, así como también horario.
Sandy.
Yes.
Sorry, I think it took you off the translation, the separate
so now
room.
Everyone's hearing me in Spanish?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, are you gonna try to?
I'm gonna try to do that right now. I'm sorry, everybody, for the interruption. Give me 2 minutes so I can get her situated again.
Bien.
I'm really, really sorry, everyone. Give me a couple more minutes. Something's happening.
That's a great question. Is that Yulia? Oh no, sorry, Jenny. So one of the things that you need to know is that on that sixth grade day before school starts, they will give a tentative class schedule. All right. So sometimes the kids don't necessarily depending upon if your kid is in a certain program, like at our school, we have different programs like DLIP and, you know, STEM and robotics and all sorts of things like that. So there's only certain times where things can be offered. But the schools, all the schools work very hard to be flexible and try and give the kids which elective they want. But you really need to, like, if you notice right there on that sixth grade day in August, it'll say meet the counselor. The counselor is instrumental in making those program changes. So talk to the counselor if you see on your child's class schedule that they do not have the elective that they really want to take. And hopefully they'll be able to rearrange that schedule so that happens. I hope that helps.
Thank you for jumping in there. Can you see my screen? Does it show? Okay, good.
Nina, so in terms of choosing the school, they did have open enrollment during sure, Nancy, you might have to answer that if open enrollment on different tours and then get placed on that list if there's if the open enrollment has closed. So you do have choice. You do have choice. For me, my kid happened to just go to the neighborhood school for both junior high school, for middle school and high school. So I didn't really have to do that. Okay. Nancy, can I go ahead now?
Okay. Yes, if you can see my screen, yes, please.
Great. So I'm gonna take off the chat because I need to look at this. Yeah. Okay. So on that sixth grade day, you are going to have to make sure that this is really important. If you can get onto your parent portal, which is your Aries portal data, and do the data confirmation.
Buscar los datos de confirmación.
Do that. Same thing happens at high school every year. So do the data confirmation. If you don't know how to do that, though, on those sixth grade days when the school is offering it, they usually have a room that will have a bunch of Chromebooks in there, and you can do the data confirmation in there. But you'll get the class schedule, you'll meet the counselor, you'll receive some of the books, you'll get a locker if your child wants one and if they're available. You can sign up at Learns, you can look at the campus. That's really important, that you walk your kid around the campus so they kind of get familiar with it. I see a lot of parents walking around, and there's usually a lot of teachers there because the teachers are already on campus at that time. Thanks, Nancy. Can we go to the next slide? Nancy, can we go to the next slide, please? I don't have control of them.
I know, I'm so sorry. I don't know
It's okay.
what's going on with my screen today, but of course nothing wants to work.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
It's
there,
the
did it
theme
work?
of the year. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay,
we
sorry.
have all these logistical concerns that your kid is going to be thinking of. Your child's going to be thinking of all of these things. And so the first thing as a parent for me and as a teacher when I see my students is calming all the feels down. Right. So, because they are going from having one or maybe two teachers at their elementary school to having 4 or 5 or even 6 teachers. Most sixth graders have at least 4 teachers. So, how am I going to be able to find the classes? That's why walking around during those before school days at OAB, we call them bear days, and the kids are invited, and then they get their schedule and they can walk around and even meet some of the teachers. Sometimes you can show them where the cafeteria is, where the bathrooms are, and then also places, really important places for sixth graders are places like the front office and the attendance office and the registrar. So knowing those places are all really important. And then a lot of times PE areas are farther away. So you kind of have to talk to them about really being on it when they go from one class to the other. The first couple of weeks, most schools are very like lenient. We know that the kids are learning the campus. They might be late. Like I said, we're very lenient, but you have about 4 to 5 minutes to get from place to place. For my sixth grader, when she was at OEB, one side of it from the south side of the campus all the way to the north side and then back to the south for third. So it was kind of crazy for her, and she had to really kind of understand, okay, move and get to class. All right, Nancy. All right. So, oh my goodness, these social fears are the biggest, especially for our sixth graders, because there's a big difference between what an eighth grader looks like and what a sixth grader looks like. And a lot of times the sixth graders, as a sixth grade teacher, I would just kind of open up my door because the kids would just meander in and they were like, yes, can I stay in here? Because everything is such a wide world to them. Many of the teachers understand this, and they will offer their rooms as a place to be, especially before school, and and just kind of offer that place. If you have kids who already know people who are going to this school, that whole idea of who are my friends and who I'll eat lunch with, and people in my classes, those questions get answered. My kid was one of 2 kids who came from her elementary school to the middle school. So there were only 2 of them, and they weren't in any of the same classes. So those were the things that I had to talk to my child about when she was going into middle school. So encourage your student really to find a place if they have friends, right? Whether it's, in the pergola area where they eat lunch, or in the front, right? Or sometimes the schools will just have a meeting place for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, right? Encourage them to get involved, to join learns and do some sports, or join an art club, do something. A lot of the schools offer clubs during lunch as well if the kids don't stay after school. And it's hard, and I do understand that it's the difficulty, but it's really great if they can have that time to see each other after school. My kid's best friend to Sierra Madre Middle School and went to PHS, and they've been best friends since 2nd grade, and they still see each other because we make the time to, have that happen. And it's been a really great, relationship builder. Okay, Nancy. Okay. Nancy, can you forward the slide? Oh, sorry, we're academic. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so this is the thing, and it goes from school to school. The kids at the beginning will be very a little squeamish about like, okay, how is this gonna go with grading? Is there gonna be a lot of homework? I really want to encourage you guys, all parents, to go to back to school night, because that's a chance really to make those connections and to hear the philosophies of your teachers. Because a lot of teachers have different sorts of philosophies when it comes to homework, and how they grade, and will offer those things to the parents. And at our school, we do we all send out per grade level kind of a consistent way of showing how we grade, and it helps the parents to help the kids transition. But the biggest thing is juggling the multiple teachers and the work, and kind of teaching that time management piece. Some schools actually offer agendas and planners, and try to teach the kids, okay, let's carve out time to do these things, so that it becomes manageable for the student to schedule homework time. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of parent portal. Even as a high school parent, I still use parent portal, and I get an email sent to me every week, just to kind of look at my kids' grades, and make sure to have a conversation with her about them. But that last piece, that number 5, it's what Wendy was talking about, and advocating for themselves. It's really important that we start teaching our students in 6th grade how to advocate for themselves. Teach them how, you know what, when they come to you and they say, well, I don't really know, my first response is always, have you emailed the teacher? Have you talked to the teacher, or email them? Just send them a quick email and ask them about that assignment, right? That red square on Aries that comes in, and a lot of parents go, oh no, they're missing the assignment. And sometimes it's just a matter of, oh, okay, the child did not submit it, or it hasn't yet been graded, or sometimes there's a glitch in between getting the grades from Canvas to Aries, because they're connected, but sometimes there's a glitch when it comes to that. It's very important to have that parent portal done, though, and just kind of teach them how to manage their time and organize. Okay, so we have ELA blocks, math blocks, science, social studies. Don't forget your elective and your PE. Okay, so in terms of ELA, your English class is English, your math is math. Science, we have a little bit of different things going on in each grade level, but for history, it is ancient Civ, and then early and modern times, and then US history, right? So there's lots to juggle there. And once again, that's why that agenda is really great, because, excuse me, if you teach the kids, or you ask the kids, write down your homework in each one of those spaces, it makes it so much easier for you to kind of check and see what's going on in their head versus what's going on in the classroom, and also being able to check in with the teachers if there's a discrepancy. Okay. So once again, going back to Aries, everything's found on Parent Portal. We can't emphasize that more. Here's the thing, progress reports. We have 8 progress reports in middle school. So every 5 weeks, you're going to get a progress report. Progress reports are exactly that. We're trying to make sure that the kids understand, like, this is how your grade is developing. That last progress report, the one that comes in January, and then the one that comes in June for second semester, those are the ones that go on their permanent record. All the other progress reports, you're looking at them, and they can make changes, they can make growth, they can make up work a lot of times. So just remember, They're every 4 to 5 weeks, you're going to see a new progress report, and they send you an email. If you're on Parent Portal, they'll send you an email to let you know the progress reports are in the Parent Portal, right? So yeah, it's all there. And you can also set up, emails that come to you that remind you of what's going on every week. So how long do they get between classes? At OEB, they get 4 minutes. But if I remember correctly, just from talking with other middle school teachers, some middle schools have 5 minutes. Nutrition is a break in between second and third period. So you go 1, 2, 1 first period, second period. Some schools have an advisory, like our school, we have an advisory in between first period and second period. So we have our nutrition after second. It's 15 minutes. Then we go to third and fourth period. Then we have lunch, half an hour. And early release Mondays, 125 for 3 of the, and there's the schedule later on. And then other schools start later and get out at 3 o'clock. Remember, you're going to get phone calls from the school if your kid is absent from a period. So if they are marked absent, and sometimes it happens, so please be forgiving, especially when there's a substitute, because sometimes substitutes don't realize what's going on. And at the beginning of the year, sometimes, teachers are learning students, and sometimes they slip through. So you might get a call that says your student is absent for period 1, but they were there. Just email the teacher, or sometimes, it even happens to me. I've been teaching 28 years, and the kid will say, "Hey, Miss Milnes, you marked me absent yesterday." And then, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Nathan. I apologize. Let me fix that." And then I can fix it, go into Aries and just fix it like that. Remember that after 20 minutes, the tardy changes to a late, okay? And they're treated differently. A late is different than a tardy. And then if your student is not in class, they're going to be marked absent, even if they're on campus. So sometimes some of your kids are involved in Glee, they're involved in music, they're involved in ASB, all these different things that are going on. Sometimes they get marked absent, but then it gets cleared because they're off on a Glee, excursion, or they're doing something with music and they've been excused, but it may be marked absent for a little bit. Right. So you can be marked truant based on the amount of absences, the class absences, or being tardy. And a lot of times the school district will send you a notification, "Oh, your kid has been absent this many times." So you want to keep track of those. And you can also, once again, in Aries, keep track of those absences and the tardies and everything. Okay. Is that my last slide? No. Okay. And here are the school bell schedules. You see that OEB, McKinley, and Elliott and Sierra Madre all have that same early start. The early release on Mondays, and then they go to 3:05. Whereas Blair and Marshall, because the high schools start later, they keep them all in that same way, and they start later at 9:20. All right, so I think I'm done, right, Nancy? Unless anybody has any questions. If you want me to go over this, I can, but counselor duties are not mine. So
no, I was going to see Susan. Great. Did you want to jump in? And
can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go and ask the question.
For the schools, the start time is at 8:15. What's the earliest that they can be dropped off?
Ooh, that's a good question. Most schools don't like the kids to be there because there's no supervision until the teachers get there. Our teachers are not on campus are not contractually obligated to be on campus until 7:55 at an 8:15 start. So that's one of the things you have to be careful. Most of the time, like at our school, the kids kind of mill around until 8 o'clock, and then they open the doors and the kids come in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I can take them now, or I can take them at the end. All right. All yours, Susan.
Okay, so hi, my name is Susan Schwartz, and I'm with Pasadena Education Network. We are a local parent driven network of, as the name implies, of families with kids in all the PUSD schools. So we, as an organization, what we try to do is to support families as they're thinking about what their school options are, helping them connect with people who have uh, kids at the schools where your children will be attending or where you're considering attending. And then also just really kind of support people to be informed and, sort of able to participate and support your students. So what I wanted to really just emphasize right now is a little bit of what's already been said, which is as you are moving from elementary school, where it's sort of you and your child and your child's teacher are kind of the main players. When you get to middle school, and as you're going to be moving on to high school, but as you're entering middle school, your child has more teachers, and your child is starting to learn how to advocate for him or herself a little bit more, and you want to be supporting them in that, and you want to be encouraging them that. And then, the counselor is also a resource at the school who can kind of help if you need to meet, if your child is having issues in a couple of different areas, or you just need some support, either socially, social emotional stuff, or, more than one class, or anything like that. That's where the counselor can play a role in really helping you and your student with figuring out what they need to be supported. So again, I think the main thing I would emphasize is just thinking about this as a team effort, and thinking a little bit less in terms of, oh, I have to do all the things for my child, and more in terms of how can I support my child to, to get what they need, and access the resources that are available for them, and speak up for themselves when they have questions or need more help. And so I think, just as Ms. Milnes was saying, Parent Portal is an excellent tool for parents to be able to sort of see what's going on, particularly with academics and attendance. But, also just sort of talking with your student, and really finding out about what's going on, what they're liking, what they're not liking. I used to say, instead of how was your day, I would say, what was the best thing that happened to you today? What was the worst thing that happened to you today? What made you laugh? What what made you sad? Just questions that really can kind of help them to articulate a little bit about what's working for them, what might not be working so well. Because the more you know as a parent, the more you can help support your student to get to get what they need. And again, it's not, I'm going to solve this problem for you. It's how can we solve this problem together? So that's sort of my broad pitch as far as, thinking about the transition to middle school, is really kind of thinking about how you're going to help your child figure out what they need and find what they need. And knowing that there are resources at the school that if you don't know the answer and your child doesn't know the answer, you can help your child find out, or you can find out and then help your child go and access that resource. And then next slide. So one of the things I mentioned was that our network includes parents who have kids at all the schools in the district. And so on our website, there is under the schools tab, there's a page called Talk to a Parent, and it actually lists parents who have kids at the various schools. And I just listed middle schools here with some names and emails, but you can find all this on our Talk to a Parent page, and that's the QR code that's there. So, if you know what school your child is going to be attending and want to get some insights about kind of what is it like from a parent's perspective, these are folks that you can tap and talk to, and they are willing to, have a conversation with you, or if you just have a question that you need answered. And then the only other thing I would just throw in is that somebody asked about the LEARNS applications and when those are due. And I know for elementary school, you really have to kind of jump on that as early as they become available, which is often in the late spring, I think. So you may want to be checking your school's website or, PTA, Facebook page, whatever, school's Facebook page or Instagram to see, to make sure that you are able to take advantage of that when the opportunity comes, because sometimes if you wait till school starts, those programs can fill up. At least I know that's true at elementary, and it may be at middle school as well. That's what I got. I'm happy to take questions.
Susan.
Thank you,
I'm
Susan.
going to leave it here for a little bit. There we go.
Yeah, just in case anyone would like to screenshot this or jot anything down so that they can connect with the parent at their child's future school, this is here for you all.
And you guys are going to share the recording and the slides on your website, and we'll put a link to that on our webpage as well.
Perfect. Yes, all of this will be available. We did have a couple of good questions a little further back, but if Miss Milnes or if Susan, if anyone knows these answers to these, it's if we are in a dual language immersion path, will electives be an option, or is that something that's preset for students?
In the regular school day, if your child is in dual immersion, their language is their elective. However, there are schools like OEB who offers seventh period classes. So if you would like your child to be able to take a seventh period class, I'm sure other schools do this too, but like we have orchestra, we have glee, we have robotics at the seventh period. We just added robotics this past semester. So it's just something for those kiddos because they have to take that extra class in the dual language.
I believe to add to that, I know Elliott does have their conservatory or art studio. That's something available after school as well, just to show that all the schools do, if I'm not mistaken, have after school options. There was another question regarding whether the electives are chosen for them prior to those sixth grade days and if they can be changed.
Counselors usually will change, will have an open time of, it's usually about a week to 2 weeks where the kids can come in and ask to have things changed because we're still kind of schools are kind of settling their classes. So that usually does happen. And I have seen kids in different schools be able to change from one to another. But once again, going in early before school starts and letting the counselor know, because the counselors will be there, letting the counselors know, oh, okay, Johnny doesn't want to take music, Johnny wants to take art. Can we get that switched? Having that written down beforehand kind of expedites the process.
Makes sense. There is a question that is asking if a student is coming out of state, would there be a need to get them tested before he enters middle school? From my knowledge, I know that's probably unnecessary. Yeah, not necessary. Yeah, the school will go ahead and apply the student to the appropriate classes, I believe.
Yeah, there are a couple of schools like Sierra Madre has Math Academy, and you do have to pass a test in order to get, you have to take a test in order to get into certain programs. So if that child, if mom and dad want them in Math Academy or want the possibility available, that is a requirement. But other than that, I would.
Ms. Mills, can you speak to the experience of, with your experience with English of ESL students and how that support may look for a sixth grader coming in? I think parents are wondering if that support would still be available to them.
Yes. Well, it's dependent upon where they are in the process. So that's one of the things with our students who have not reclassified, if they are still in certain levels, then they will go into academic language classes, and then with the added support, so teachers know that they need added support in the classroom. So in the English class, I know who my second language learners are and support them. And then we move them towards reclassification. So our hopes are to get all our students reclassified before they leave our school.
Great. I think someone asked when electives are chosen again. If you don't mind reiterating that for Sunny or Suni.
So once again, go to the school before school starts. Every school, every middle school has a day for sixth graders to come in and register and pick up your child's schedule. So things are kind of set then. And if your child does not like the elective that they've been put in, that would be the ideal opportunity, the ideal time to advocate for your child to change from the elective that they were placed in to an elective that they would like to take before school starts. But if you cannot make it to the before school time, they usually do allow about a week, maybe 2 weeks, to kind of settle the classes.
Great. Nina, I see you asked, my child is special needs. What's the guarantee that she will have a one-on-one as it states in her IEP? I don't believe that's any of our specialties. I think that would be best asking the special education department. From what I understand, what is written in their IEP or 504 report is going to be followed to the best of their ability. But I would definitely connect with special education to ensure that any needs are available to her.
I think also there is supposed to be a transitional IEP meeting. And I'm not sure when that happens, but in the spring, you know.
Transitional IEPs are actually starting right now. They usually start around January, but our January was a lot different this year. So they are taking place pretty much from like now until the end of the year. And so keep an eye out. If your child does have an IEP, there should be a transitional IEP to kind of help with that.
Awesome. I know someone asked about as far as returning to Elliott's campus. Unfortunately, that's not our expertise either, but I would suggest staying up to date with the PUSD website and all board meetings to get that best up-to-date information.
Yeah, I would just, I think it's everything I have heard from the district is that, yeah, well, what Nancy just put in the chat, that Elliott will continue at McKinley at least through next school year, the 25-26 school year.
Great. I don't see any more questions within the chat. I give a moment in case there are any last minute ones, but we are kind of running on time. Feel free to leave them in the chat or unmute yourself if you have any questions for Ms. Milne or for Ms. Susan with PIN.
This was the question a little bit back, and I did put it in the chat. I thought there was at least for elementary, they used to have free lunch. I mean, excuse me, free breakfast. And so kids could arrive early for that. They don't have that in middle school? Because we were talking about kids arriving on campus early.
I believe that Nancy did answer that, but I will answer it again and say there is breakfast there, but there is no supervision for the children during that time.
Hopefully that clarified for you, Miss Bennett. Let me see. Just checking the chat once again. You guys said there will be a link to replay this presentation or slideshow, correct? Tracy, yes, correct. In addition to our beautiful QR code available on the screen, we will be sharing where you can find this presentation. Will we be receiving an email with enrollment verification of our child? If this is in regard to a child that's already been enrolled and has their school set, I don't believe there's a need. And if you are referring to lottery or open enrollment results, those will be going out to you if they already haven't. So hopefully Alvaro, that makes sense. Does Sierra Madre Middle offer beginning Chinese to non-dual language students from SME? That is a great question, Pokhu. Ms. Milnes, do you have any information on that possibility?
It's
I know
pretty standard in our dual language programs. I think in all of our dual language programs that go to middle school, that there's a track elective for students who want to take that as an elective, but aren't necessarily in the dual language program. It's pretty much standard, I'm sure, but I can't, like, I'm not really sure what goes on at Sierra Madre Middle. I'm just saying that in general, all of our dual language, that's kind of the offering is, if you don't want to be, if your child is not in the program but wants to learn the language that is offered there, then they usually have one class, but it depends upon like whether it fits in the schedule. That's the rough part, because it's usually like one class, through the day. That's it.
Gotcha. Tracy did mention that she asked a similar question on the Sierra Madre Middle School tour, and the principal let her know it was no. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Tracy.
If we accepted the offer through Schoolmint and we are current PUSD students, are we good to go? In other words, do we need to do anything further? No, from my experience, there is nothing required of you. There should be information sent out referring to your registration days, depending on your school, as Ms. Milnes mentioned, that the individual schools will be giving out contacts so that you and your student can come to their registration days and get those further details. But that's something that will be coming directly from them.
Jasmine, let me add to that question, if that's okay. So if you accepted through Schoolmint and it's not your home school, you will need to register. So I know I had to do that for my child. So once you accept, then on Schoolmint, it gives you the option to then be able to register them at the school they will be attending since you've accepted. That's how I did it last school year, and I'm assuming it's probably the same this school year. But if you have any questions, I'm also going to put the enrollment phone number in our chat, just so that if anybody had any future questions regarding enrollment, the ladies, Miss Patricia or Miss Annie, are super knowledgeable, and they'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I think that when it may be the case that if you so you were enrolling your child for the first time as a PUSD student last year, Nancy? Because I think if you're already in the system, in the registration system, they may be able to roll over the registration. to the middle school when you confirm, but you may still need to do something further to do that registration. And I agree, the best people to double check and triple check anything with is the enrollment office folks. They're great. I'm seeing another question in the chat about if my child's on the waiting list, does it mean she has will be accepted, or I'm not.
Does it mean she be accepted?
Now, Maria, do you want to ask your question one more time, just to?
That was my question too. When would, if my child is in the waiting list, when will we know if we are accepted or not?
So the waiting lists are maintained until the beginning of August, so a couple weeks before the school year starts. So you you could potentially hear anytime between now and the 1st of August that you were accepted into one of the schools that you were waitlisted for. And I think, I think that people do get, I think those waiting lists and those acceptance offers are being made, kind of all throughout, because there's a lot of things are in flux, especially this year. So it could happen anytime between now and August 1st is probably the reality. Now, if your child was offered a placement at one of the schools that you listed on your application, you should accept that, and then you would remain waitlisted for any schools that you had listed as being a preferred choice to that school. But if you did not get any of the schools that you asked for, you would just be then waitlisted for those schools that you asked for, even though you don't have an offer to accept. So I don't know if that makes sense, but and again, I think if you're okay, so you applied just for one school. If there is another middle school that you would prefer to your assigned school of residence, and if there's another middle school besides Sierra Madre that you would prefer to whatever your neighborhood school is, you could contact the enrollment office and ask to be added to, if there's space available already that you could choose that, or if you could be added to an existing wait list for another school, which might be shorter than Sierra Madre's waiting list. Yeah, calling the folks at the permit office and enrollment office are definitely great at responding. You may have to leave a message and they call you back, but they will, and they'll do their best.
Lots of great questions. Hopefully we covered a great amount of things as far as going into middle school. I didn't see anything else come up. So there was
one more just at 659 Montessori Elementary, no grades. No, you don't need to get them tested. There are plenty of kids who have come in from Montessori schools to all of our middle schools, and they do not need to be tested. They will be assessed at the beginning of the year. So you're fine. You're fine. No worries.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. There was questions about how to access this presentation or video and PowerPoint after the fact. By this time tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, we will have the opportunity to go ahead and edit and upload this presentation and recording to our website, which Nancy did add in the chat. It is PUSD .us/family, and we also share everything to our social media, which is also down below on the screen at the moment, and at Facebook and Instagram it is PUSD Faces, Family and Community Engagement Support, PUSD Faces. You can go ahead and follow us there for all updates, as well as direct links to our website and event calendars where we give up-to-date information and really present things that are relevant to our PUSD families all the time. If you have a moment and have the ability to, we would appreciate you screenshotting this and possibly scanning the QR code to leave us a bit of feedback. We have a quick 3-question survey that would just allow us to understand whether this presentation helped you at all and make the next one even better. So with that, we appreciate everyone who's been here and hung out with us. Thank you for coming tonight, and we hope you did learn something to help your middle schooler. Thank you, Ms. Milnes. Thank you, Susan. And I know Wendy left. Thank you, Nancy, and everyone else. We appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for coming. Have a wonderful night. And if you have any questions, you can always feel free to send us a quick email or give us a call. Thank you, everyone. Bye.